Vaccines were a priority for our family, and in August of 2017, my son went for a normal checkup. It was a little early to get the vaccine, so we said, we'll just come back. Life happened, we got busy, and we did not go back for the vaccine. Hi, my name is Abby Amesbury, and I live in Boyne City, Michigan. In 2018, my husband and I had a 3-year-old spunky little boy, and we were expecting our daughter. That January, our son was diagnosed with the flu. We had no idea what the flu could actually do. Within 24 hours of him being diagnosed, we had gone to 2 different hospitals because he continued to decline. At 4 in the morning, an air team was called from Helen DeVos Children's Hospital in Grand Rapids. They airlifted our son 3 hours away. They had told us that, don't worry, it'll only be a couple days. My husband and I drove the 3-hour drive to meet him, and by the time we got there, Jase was already hooked up to multiple machines. The next 24 hours, Jase was put on life support. He was put on a ventilator to give his lungs the rest that they needed. That night did not go as smooth as planned. The doctors had to change the vent settings multiple times. They had to change the ventilator that he was on. And the next morning they told us that they needed to do one more adjustment. The next step was to put Jase on ECMO. ECMO is a machine that creates a lung on the outside of the body. This is the most advanced life support there is possible. A procedure that should have only taken a few hours ended up taking 8 hours. Jase was so fragile he was unable to leave the room that he was in. They closed the PICU down and turned it into their own operating room just for our son. Once Jase was on ECMO, he stayed on ECMO for 6 days. He was hooked up to multiple machines helping his body recover. 26 pumps, tubes from everywhere. There was only a small section of his body that we could actually touch while we're in the room. Jase was surrounded by 3 nurses 24/7. We came into his room fully gowned in N95 masks, gowns head to toe, and we had to wash before and after leaving his room. When Jase was removed from ECMO, the doctors noticed that he was not waking up as they hoped he would. From his sedation vacation, the doctors realized that they needed to do further diagnostics to see why he was not waking up. After a stat MRI at 8 p.m. at night, we realized that Jase had suffered a very rare side effect from the flu, one that none of the doctors had ever seen before, called acute necrotizing encephalitis. This had shown permanent brain damage along Jase's brain stem and all over his brain. Because the doctors had never seen this, they started doing research. There was only a survival rate of 30% with kiddos that were diagnosed with acute necrotizing encephalitis. They found that there was a 16-year-old boy in China that had a good outcome from this medication that they were going to try on Jase. Jase was only 3 years old at the time, and they had never used this medication on a child so small. We knew that there was a chance that we were going to harm Jase's kidneys and his liver, but we were going to take that chance because we wanted to see what we could do for our son. After 17 days of being intubated, they removed the tube that Jase was breathing on. Jase slowly started to regain some strength. The doctors were unsure if this was just part of taking him off of the highly sedative medications that he was on, or if he was starting to come back to us. Each day he showed us small signs of improvement. I remember one day that my husband had one of those soft snowballs, and Jase loved to play with those at my parents' house, and he picked the snowball up and he threw it across the room. The doctors couldn't believe it. They kept telling us it was a miracle right before their eyes. Jase was inpatient at Helen DeVos Children's Hospital for over 3 weeks. Our plan was to then go to inpatient rehab at Mary Free Bed in Grand Rapids. We stayed there for an additional 3 weeks, where Jase had to relearn everything over again: eating, talking, sleeping. He had to learn to crawl again. Our biggest hope was for him to be able to eat somewhat thick foods and to crawl when he got home. After 3.5 weeks, Jase was able to walk out of the rehab center with us to go home. My husband and I lived in the hospital for 3 months, him leaving a full-time job behind and me as well. The community stood behind us and supported us. There was multiple benefits that people hosted just for us. Jammies for Jase at school, there was silent auctions. People had taken upon themselves to start donations for us just so Ryan and I could continue to stay by Jase's side in the hospital. I'd love to say that things are back to normal, but for us it's just a new normal. Jase has multiple appointments on a monthly basis that we have to travel 3 hours away. Hotel rooms, gas, food, it all adds up, and it does create a stress on our life. Jase is legally blind in his left eye because of the damage the virus had caused in his brain. He has severe delays in school, in speech. Jase also has 4 different lung diseases that are directly linked to the battle that he fought 4 years ago. He is undergoing a very invasive medical procedure right now where he receives large doses of high-dose steroids every month. Jase only has 1 more treatment left, and we've already seen a huge improvement now that he's done those treatments. It's a constant battle of making sure that he is safe, that he is healthy, and that he is not showing any signs of respiratory distress. Despite all the support that we had with our communities and the people that supported us during this, I truly wish we never had to experience this. If I could go back in time, would I get him vaccinated? Yes. Do I know if this would have saved all of this from happening? Not 100%, but I don't think it would have been as severe. Prior to Jase getting sick, there was multiple members in our family that did not vaccinate. Since then, because of what they saw him go through, each year we get vaccinated for the flu. If you could only take one thing away from the story that I've shared today, maybe it's having the tough conversation with your doctor, asking about the vaccines. Maybe it's keeping your kiddo home when they're sick. Maybe it's not going to that family event that you're having for the holidays. You never know how you and the germs that you have could be impacting other people.